What if the most beautiful thing in your garden started from trash? Welcome to Mind Over Decoration, where we don't waste potential, we rescue it. This video is full of DIY trash garden ideas. Real projects you can make from old bottles, leftover concrete, and forgotten junk. No theory. No Pinterest perfect dreams. Just real designs made from whatever you have on hand. Timestamps are below. Skip to what you need. Questions? Leave them in the comments, I see them all. If it moves you, try it your way. Use what's nearby. Make it count. To you, I might just be a name on a screen. But this isn't just another video. It's a quiet dream I'm building with my family from the ground up. Every like, every subscribe, it's not small. It's survival. It's one more chance to keep creating. Thanks for standing here with us. Thanks for looking closer. In a world that often rushes to throw things away, some hands choose to pause and repurpose. Here in this tiny backyard, discarded plastic bottles find their second life, not as waste, but as quiet blossoms glowing gently along the fence. Their petals, once sharp and forgotten, are now softened into round, delicate shapes kissed by the morning dew. When the sun is high, they catch the light like frozen glass. And when twilight falls, they awaken into warm flower lanterns, each one painted in translucent hues of amber, rose, and soft mint, casting flickers of light like whispers across gravel. It's more than garden lighting. It's a message. A slow reminder that even trash in the right hands can bloom. The beauty lies not only in the glow, but in the hands that shape them. The careful cuts, the gentle curves, the patience to form each petal from something the world had given up on. This isn't a store-bought transformation. It's a quiet rebellion made from soda bottles and solar lights, from the ordinary turned extraordinary. Follow the path lit by flower-shaped solar lights, set into tiny borders, placed thoughtfully beside bright beds of marigold, dianthus, and lobelia. They are not perfect. Some are bent, some uneven. But that's what makes them real. Near the bench, rusted and old with flaking white paint, you'll find rosemary brushing against the glow. The scent mingles with dusk air, as if the plants themselves lean in to admire the upcycled company beside them. And what's truly magic, this can be yours. This isn't fantasy. This is PVC and a bit of spray paint. It's bamboo sticks and thrifted solar caps. It's time and love and the belief that beauty doesn't come from what's new, but from how you choose to see what you already have. So next time you hold an empty bottle, pause. You might just be holding the seed of your next garden bloom. Not every garden needs acres of space. Sometimes, the most vibrant beauty grows in the narrowest of gaps, between houses, along brick paths, beside fences worn with time. In this tiny space where two homes lean closely together, soda cans, once tossed aside without thought, have been given new life. Each one is now a cradle for color. Marigolds glow like lanterns in the golden hour light, while petunias spill over with carefree joy, their petals as bold as they are soft. Set on bamboo shelves, these cans aren't just planters. They're a celebration of contrast, between the cold slickness of aluminum and the wild, messy softness of flowers in bloom. Further down the garden path, colors shift again. Here the cans have been painted, soft coral, lavender blush, mint green, each hue chosen to complement the pansies nestled inside. These blooms, small but fierce, seem to smile up at every passerby. Along another walkway, brick-lined and storybook-like, repurposed cans stand in proud little rows, repeating like a rhythmic poem. Some still bear their brand names, faded and chipped. Others are painted over in sunshine yellow or sea sky blue. Inside them, clusters of alyssum and snapdragon sway gently, filling the air with hints of scent and movement. This isn't high design. This is heart-crafted beauty. This is the kind of garden made not from luxury, but from love. From a belief that even soda cans can hold soil and joy. That narrow alleys can hold more life than we think. That color and purpose and bloom can come from the most unexpected of places, especially when seen through hands that care. And maybe that's what makes this garden sing. It's not perfect. It doesn't need to be. Because it's alive. It's real. And it's yours to try. So next time you hold a can, don't toss it, plant it. In the stillness of an afternoon, where sunlight filters softly between slats of old wood, something unexpected stirs. Not noise, not movement, but aroma. A whisper of basil, a breath of mint, the calm confidence of rosemary. No fancy terracotta pots. No designer planters. Just tin cans rescued, rinsed, and reborn. Under a humble white gazebo, a collection of these shining silver cylinders dangle gracefully from iron hooks. They sway slightly in the breeze, like wind chimes tuned to scent instead of sound. Some are smooth and gleaming, others bear the fine dents and dimples of a life well used. And from each one a different herb rises, soft sage leaves with velvet fuzz, mint trailing wildly, rosemary upright and aromatic. It is a herb garden not bound by the earth, but lifted into the air. A little further down the garden path, another version appears, a vertical tower of cans spiraling upward like a green helix. Each can bears a label in chalk, lovingly smudged, some in handwriting only the gardener can read. Here, chives spike upward beside oregano that spills outward with joy. This structure, built from a single rod and reclaimed scraps, becomes a living sculpture, a tiny edible totem. And on the wooden fence where shadows dance, jute ropes hold rows of painted cans like notes on a rustic staff. Each color muted, soft, earthy, sage green, cream, terracotta, chosen not for trend but for peace. Basil overflows like a child's laughter, thyme crouches low like a secret. The leaves are still wet from watering, droplets clinging like tiny glass beads catching late day light. This garden doesn't shout. It doesn't try to impress. But it speaks volumes about care. About seeing what's already in your home, not as trash but as a beginning. A beginning to grow your own food. A beginning to shift your rhythm. A beginning to hang beauty where others might have left a blank wall. And all it took was an empty can and a bit of twine. So if you've ever stood in your kitchen holding a soup can and hesitating before the bin, pause. Look again. You may be holding a basil plant in disguise. Somewhere between the tiled floor and an empty bottle, a garden quietly begins. Not with grandeur, not with gold, but with grit, curiosity, and a handful of cactus soil. In this tiny patio corner, where the morning light meets terracotta tiles, a whimsical little tower rises. Crafted from used plastic bottles and bamboo rods, it stands waist-high, humble yet proud. Each bottle, cut and shaped with care, cradles its own baby cactus. Some bloom with soft yellow flowers. Others wear their spines like tiny crowns of defiance. Together, they form a totem of resilience and charm. What was once waste is now a sculpture of survival, each plant thriving in the smallest of spaces. And all around, quiet objects anchor the scene. A rattan chair, a silver watering can, the faint shadow of a nearby tree. Real things in real light from real life. In another nook, this idea grows bolder. A cone-shaped cactus display rises from a rustic crate, its bottles painted in the dusty pastels of desert sand and eucalyptus leaves. These tones speak of stillness, of dry air and patience. Succulents curl gently out from the sides, nestled in pebbles, inviting fingers to reach, but carefully. The ground is scattered with driftwood and sun-warmed stones. It's not a design studio. It's a garden story in miniature. And then, in the sunniest patch of gravel, the tallest tower gleams. Plastic bottles, worn but washed clean, spiral upward with military precision. Each holds a round cactus, some topped with red pincushion blooms like little fireworks. The base is circled in river stones. A wooden crate filled with gardening tools leans nearby, as if waiting for the next idea to begin. These towers don't take much. A few bottles, a bit of balance, the courage to begin. And that's what makes them so powerful. Because they remind us that even in the narrowest garden, even with the smallest of budgets, even with just trash and imagination, something alive, playful, and beautiful can grow. So if you've got an empty bottle in a dusty corner, you've got what it takes to build a cactus tower of your own. There's something deeply beautiful about watching a garden take care of itself, quietly, patiently, drop by drop. Beneath the beams of a rustic wooden pergola, something simple yet genius begins to unfold. From above, rows of recycled plastic bottles hang upside down like glistening fruit. They are not there to be seen but to serve. Each one has been cleaned, fitted with a small drip hole, and suspended with humble twine. The water inside falls slowly, steady, thoughtful, into terracotta pots of basil and cherry tomatoes below. This is not a high-tech irrigation system. It's a rhythm, a pulse, a recycled breath of care. And as light dances through the slats above, the water glimmers in motion, never wasted, never rushing. The bottles, painted in soft earth tones, muted red clay and faded teal, blend into the wood around them as if they were always part of the garden's bones. In another backyard, smaller and more compact, a pergola frames a hidden food oasis. The bottles here are unlabeled, clear and honest, hung in rows above raised beds of lettuce and rainbow chard. A single green vine climbs the central post, reaching toward sunlight in calm defiance. From a standing view, the entire system looks intentional but inviting, as if it could be built tomorrow by anyone with string, scissors, and a gentle urge to grow. And along a narrow alley tucked between brick walls, a final version appears. The pergola is slender, weathered by seasons. Yet from its crossbeams hang bottles, some blue-capped, some labeled in ink, all slowly feeding ceramic pots below. Herbs like cilantro and dill stretch upward from the pots, grateful for each measured drop. Morning glories creep around the frame, offering purple flowers in soft bursts. The air here is quiet, the kind of silence that smells faintly of leaves, patience, and wet soil. This isn't just upcycling. This is philosophy. To turn waste into water. To let gravity become a gardener. To let time be the gentle hand that feeds the roots. It's proof that you don't need much. Just a bottle, a beam, and the willingness to trust that growth will come. So the next time you finish a bottle of water, don't toss it away. Hang it. Fill it. Let it drip into something new. There's something unexpectedly heartwarming about giving brightness to the edges. To mark a garden's borders not with bricks or steel, but with stories in aluminum. It starts with color. A small backyard blooms with more than just petals. Half buried in dark soil, rows of soda cans rise like cheerful notes in a melody. Some wear coats of paint, sunflower yellow, cherry red, sky blue, while others remain in their metallic sheen, dulled slightly by rain and time. They form a playful procession along a gravel path, separating daisies from time with a wink of whimsy. These cans were once tossed aside, forgotten. Now they've been rinsed, painted, and arranged with care. The soil hugs their curves. Bees drift over lavender. And every edge of the garden seems to hum with joy. This isn't a border made by a landscaper. It's a border made by hands that love what they grow. And the beauty deepens as you walk further. In one corner, beneath a wooden fence, a riot of marigolds dance behind soda cans painted with backyard stories. A cherry doodle here. A sunflower burst there. The brush strokes are uneven. The lines are delightfully imperfect. And that's precisely the charm. Children may have helped. A neighbor may have smiled. The cans don't just hold back soil, they invite conversation. They remind you, gardens don't need to be perfect, just personal. And then, on a sun-washed patio, there's a final flourish. A raised bed framed by softened cans, each one hand embossed with floral impressions, pressed in with spoons or fingertips. Kale and bok choy rise above them, tall and generous. A bamboo trellis stretches overhead, waiting for climbers. Beside it, a pair of gloves rest on the wood, dusted with soil and sunshine. It is here, in this small act of reclaiming waste, that a garden becomes more than a place for plants. It becomes a place of play, of resourcefulness, of quiet victory. You don't need much. Just what you already have, and the will to turn trash into something worth tending. Sometimes, the most powerful transformations come from the quietest corners of the yard. Along the back fence, beside the soft nod of coneflowers and the peppery scent of mint, a simple wall speaks a language not meant for us. It's built from what others might call trash. Bottles once tossed aside, now given purpose, life, and invitation. This is a home, not for people but for the silent workers of the garden. Solitary bees, beetles, and tiny pollinators who make everything bloom. Each bottle is filled with time and care. Rows of bamboo slivers, pine cones, rolled leaves. Nothing fancy, just honest pieces of nature, arranged with gentle hands. Mounted onto wood, they form a grid along the shed wall, angled just enough to catch the morning sun. It warms the plastic lightly, creating a welcome that isn't loud but known, especially to the creatures it's meant for. This isn't about saving the world in one swoop. It's about inviting a little more life into the forgotten spaces. A ladybug crawls across the rim of a bottle, pausing beneath a petal's shadow. Lavender sways nearby, and a watering can waits patiently to serve. There is no rush here. Just rhythm. Just balance. At another corner, tucked near ivy and ferns, the bottles change, now clear and vertical, lined up like neighbors on a porch. Each one holds a different story: curled bark, seed pods, circles of dried bamboo. They rest quietly on a shelf, a handmade sign above them reads, "Insect welcome." And they are, truly. A third place shows the same idea in a new shape: horizontal bottles tied with twine to an old fence. Inside, layers of hollow stems offer safety from wind and rain. Calendula leans in from below, curious. A ladybug makes her way toward the opening as if she's known this spot all along. This is what can happen when we look twice at what we usually throw away. When we remember that the garden doesn't need perfection, it needs life. It needs shelter. It needs tiny places where wings can rest. And in offering that, even a plastic bottle becomes something more than what it was. It becomes a gift. Some evenings the wind sings. It drifts softly through old fences and tangled vines, past faded pots and garden benches that remember a younger spring. And there, beneath a quiet gazebo or under the open lattice of a sunlit pergola, the forgotten scraps of yesterday catch the breeze, not with noise but with grace. One soda can become a flower, then another. Their petals, once factory cut and foil shiny, are transformed by hands into delicate bursts of color, petal shapes cut from cans of lemon fizz, peach cola or cherry soda, now blushing with pastel tones. They dangle gently from fishing line, swaying in rhythm, painting the air with sound that feels less like clinking and more like whispering glass. These are not ornaments for decoration alone, they are acts of reimagination. A wind chime made from nothing but waste and will, held together with twine and intention. In one corner, a strand of soda can blossoms hangs vertically from a pergola beam. Each bloom has been embossed with thumb-pressed texture, edges softened, and joined with tiny beads, just enough shimmer to catch the morning light, just enough weight to hold their place in the breeze. The space is simple, potted petunias hanging nearby, vines curling their way upward, and shadows that stretch long in the late afternoon. And as dusk falls elsewhere in the garden, another scene flickers into life. A white gazebo wrapped in clematis blooms, glows with soft twilight. From its ceiling hang jewel-toned chimes, fashioned from cans of red berry soda and citrus spritz, shaped into starbursts and half-suns. They move like dancers, lit from behind by the last gold of the sky, catching every breath of wind and turning it into music. These aren't store-bought charms. They don't pretend to be perfect. But in their flaws, in the uneven cuts, in the slightly bent petals, in the tiny visible labels, they hold stories. Stories of a drink once shared, of hands learning to craft again, of a garden made not from what was bought, but from what was found. You don't need a workshop to make one. Just a can, a pair of scissors, a soft brush of paint, and a place where the wind can reach. And when it does, let it carry your creation into the evening. Let it tell the story of a soda can turn to song. Some ideas speak softly, yet they hold the sea in their palms. In one quiet backyard corner, where a wooden fence meets sunlight and ornamental grass, the ocean rises, not in water but in waves of cobalt and sea glass green. Old bottles, once tossed aside, now gleam in soft circles of color. Flattened, sliced, or worn smooth, they have become a mural, a wave caught in mid-crest. Set against reclaimed timber and surrounded by polished white pebbles, the whole piece feels like a postcard from the coast, sent not by mail but by memory. There's no need for perfection here, just patience. The trick lies in arranging bottle bottoms or cut slices by tone and size, gradually building the movement of the sea with your hands. Blue at the base, greens climbing, and clear glass foam cresting over the top. Even imperfections catch light beautifully. If you look closely, some glass still bears old logos, faint embossings from another life. But in this new story they speak of calm, of care, of someone who saw possibility in trash. And just a few steps away, on the red brick wall of a narrow patio, more ocean stories sway in glass vessels. Transparent wine bottles hang like floating terrariums, each one holding a tiny underwater world. Beach pebbles, artificial coral, dyed water the color of tide pools. Hemp cords suspend them at eye height, allowing morning sun to pass through, casting waves of blue light on the ground. They don't need to say much. They simply glow. The best part? These pieces don't shout craft. They feel more like whispers, of travel, of peace, of old bottles made to feel needed again. And tucked near the garden shed, a final treasure waits. Along the siding, plastic soda bottles, cut and shaped with gentle care, line up like tiny beach boxes. Their bellies are filled with pale sand and dotted with sea glass, driftwood, miniature succulents, and even shells if you have them. What could have gone to landfill now frames a living wall, one that feels both playful and purposeful. Some bottles lean slightly, giving the whole arrangement a wabi-sabi imperfection that feels honest. With each step along this garden path, you're reminded that even the smallest gesture, cutting a bottle, saving a shard of blue glass, tying a string, can bring beauty and presence to forgotten corners. These aren't decorations. They're reminders of sea air, of sun-warmed wood, of the quiet power in giving old things new light. In a world filled with noise and waste, there are rare corners where silence is crafted, drop by drop, can by can. Tucked into the mossy green stillness of a Japanese-inspired courtyard, a handful of discarded tin cans begin a quiet conversation. Stacked like a staircase for water, they have been bent, cut, and softened by rust and care. What once held soup or beans now channels something far more sacred: flow. The bamboo spout above offers a steady stream, and each can accept it in turn, passing it downward with grace. You can hear it if you stop, each drop a syllable in the language of peace. This is not polished. It's not shiny. Some cans are rusted through, their surfaces marked by time. But there's dignity in their wear, and in the gentle way they guide the water from one to the next. Beneath them, black river stones catch the overflow, sending soft ripples outward like the echo of a wind chime. And around them, ferns, dwarf bamboo, and ground moss. Nothing extravagant, just textures that whisper instead of shout. Together, they form a meditative rhythm: green, silver, stillness, flow. This isn't a fountain you buy. It's a fountain you build, when you begin to see the potential in the unloved. A place where function meets calm. Just beyond the stepping stones, another version rests quietly beside a gravel path. Here, polished cans catch morning light like silver petals. A stone lantern stands sentinel, and the air smells faintly of wet leaves. Even the gravel seems to hush its crunch. This is no accident. Someone chose this silence. And by the maple bench, where a single can now receives a trickle from a hollow bamboo pipe, the scene shifts from structure to intimacy. The can sits low, circled by white stones and crowned by a bonsai with autumn-colored leaves. Just one can. Just one gesture. But somehow, it feels complete, like the end of a sentence you didn't know you needed to hear. This too is trash, and yet it holds stillness. Practical whisper: you can make this at home. All it takes is a small pump, some reclaimed cans, a bamboo shoot, and an hour of intention. Drill small spouts. Let gravity do the rest. Don't worry about perfection. Water will always find its way. Because in the end, these aren't just garden fountains. They're soft-spoken rebellions against waste, against haste, against forgetting that even a rusted can, when paired with patience, can carry beauty from one level to the next. In the quiet hush of early evening, when the day exhales its final warmth, a humble trail begins to shimmer, not with store-bought lights, but with tiny stars punched into old tin cans, glowing with intention and care. These lanterns weren't always beautiful. Once they were soup cans stacked on dusty pantry shelves. Forgotten, rust-flecked, dented. But now they line a soft garden path like sentinels of second chances. Along the edge of stepping stones, their delicate flower and star shapes flicker with candlelight, casting slow-moving shadows on thyme and lavender. The light isn't just illumination, it's memory made visible, the quiet joy of something rescued and reborn. Further up the gravel path, the farmhouse charm deepens. Hung from black shepherd hooks, each can sways gently in the breeze. Dusty rose, sage, and twilight blue, painted in soft, faded tones that feel like a whisper from another time. Their heart-cut silhouettes and vines spill patterns over white hydrangeas and blooming snapdragons below. The metal carries age with grace. There's no need for polish here, just authenticity in every rusted rim and hand-drilled hole. And at the patio's edge, right where indoors meets outdoors, the light welcomes you home. A line of bare tin cans, unpainted and real, forms a soft glowing border across terracotta tile. Moons, leaves, tiny dotted constellations. Each design feels like a secret spelled out in metal and light. Ivy creeps up the nearby post, and the air smells faintly of soil, stone, and something warm. This isn't complicated. It's not expensive. It's a story told with simple tools: a nail, a hammer, and the patience to see what might shine again. Solar tea lights for long nights, real candles for weekend warmth, a coat of matte spray paint or none at all. Each can speak its own dialect of reuse and charm. And maybe that's what makes this DIY magic feel so timeless. It reminds us that comfort doesn't always come in glossy packages. Sometimes, it comes from the soft clink of tin in the breeze, the handmade holes that catch golden dusk, the joy of creating light from something once discarded. So if you find yourself holding an empty can and wondering what's next, this path is yours to light. In the hush of a quiet backyard, where a fence meets a painted wall and an old wooden bench offers rest, something magical has taken root, not in the soil but in the small acts of reimagining. Here the story is not about what was thrown away but what was chosen to stay. Plastic bottles, ordinary, overlooked and emptied, are given a new destiny. They don't just hold soda anymore, they hold life. The first corner tells of harmony and rhythm. Rows of upside-down bottles, each painted in calming hues of muted navy, olive, cream and slate gray, line a simple iron fence. They sway slightly in the breeze like quiet bells. Beneath each one, succulents curl outward, plump rosettes and shy shoots, resting on stratified layers of pebbles and soil like miniature geology projects. These are not just planters. They're sculptures. Every edge has been softened by hand, every container layered with patience and vision. Below them, a matching row of bottle bases creates a mirrored garden, a duality of reuse standing proud against the backdrop of glossy foliage. Turn the corner and the rhythm shifts. Against a white vertical wall, 4 large bottles are suspended with rope and steel brackets. They hover in midair, one above the next, each filled with thick black soil and smooth pebbles. Out of this unlikely cradle, echeveria and sedum bloom skyward. A jasmine vine leans in curiously from the left, while rosemary brushes up on the right, forming a gentle gate to this vertical garden. It's simple, effective, and grounding. The kind of project anyone can start with just one bottle and a bit of string. But when hung together, they feel like musical notes on a soft staff line, inviting you to hum along with the season. And finally, there is the quiet cadence of symmetry. Against a wooden fence, painted bottle gardens form perfect columns. 3 sets, each 4 levels high. The repetition feels calming, like breathing in time with a breeze. Some bottle caps are blue, others pink or mint, and the succulents inside thrive with confidence. Cascading vines begin to trail downward, an intentional wildness added to the order. This isn't just about aesthetics. It's about reclaiming space. It's about turning a bland fence into a canvas, a forgotten wall into a home for something soft, green, and alive. None of these designs require wealth. Only intention. Only eyes that see potential where others see plastic. A box cutter, a bag of soil, a few screws, and the willingness to sit with your hands in the dirt while the sun moves slowly across your yard. That's all it takes. In the end, what you grow isn't just plants. It's peace. It's presence. It's proof that even in a throwaway world, beauty can be built bottle by bottle. In the quiet space where morning coffee cools on a weathered table and shadows stretch gently across the brick floor, a soft chorus of flowers greets the day, not from ceramic pots or polished planters but from tin cans. Once bound for the recycling bin, these humble vessels now sing with life, each one strung delicately from a pergola beam or hooked over a railing, spilling blooms like memories retold in color. The charm lies in the simplicity. A faded olive can with the words, "Toto Garden," stenciled in uneven black letters holds golden alyssum that tumbles like sunshine down the railing. Next to it, an old blue can cradles sweet alyssum and creeping jenny, the white blossoms catching soft afternoon light, while the greens curl gracefully toward the tiles below. These aren't store-bought perfection. They're everyday cans transformed with a stroke of paint and a handful of soil. And look again. Along the wooden porch beams, food cans once stacked in kitchen cupboards now dangle like ornaments. A tin of tomatoes, still bearing its vintage label, now erupts in a cascade of trailing nasturtiums. Another, painted matte black, offers a bold contrast to the delicate pinks of bacopa winding around its edge. Each can hangs from twine, some tilted slightly, each one a tiny rebellion against waste. Down below, a garden bench rests near a lattice of foliage, while the cans sway gently in the breeze above, like lanterns filled not with fire but with petals and hope. This isn't just decoration. It's a gesture. A reminder that beauty doesn't always come from what's new or planned, but from what we choose to cherish, mend, and give another chance. Want to try it yourself? Start with a can. Add a nail and twine. Plant something simple and let it spill. Don't worry about matching colors or perfect alignment. Let your garden be a place where things don't have to be flawless to be beautiful. Because in a world overflowing with excess, sometimes the most meaningful blooms come from what others threw away. And just maybe, this little DIY corner of your patio could grow into your favorite part of the whole garden. In the hush of a small garden where gravel crunches under gentle steps, a quiet transformation rises, one that doesn't shout for attention but slowly invites it. Here, an old wooden pergola no longer waits for grandeur. Instead, it blossoms with the shimmer of soda cans cut, curled, and reborn as spiraling vines. Each aluminum tendril dances in the breeze, painted in metallic greens, copper hues, and soft silver, echoing nature with an industrial twist. They catch the light like dew on morning leaves, spinning gentle shadows across the bench below. But look closer. Among the recycled swirls climb real clematis, honeysuckle, and morning glory, tangled in harmony with their artificial counterparts. This isn't a clash between nature and waste, it's a duet. The contrast doesn't jar, it soothes. There's something strangely beautiful about it. The softness of petals against the firmness of crimped metal. The resilience of both. At the patio's edge, a smaller wooden frame rests in the corner. Ivy vines meander upward, encouraged by a garland of can leaves, each hand-cut, each pressed with careful veins, strung together by wire to mimic climbing stems. In the afternoon light, they glint like chrome feathers. They're not pretending to be real leaves. They're simply echoing them, reinterpreted, not replicated. The real magic, though, is how human hands stitch this together. Not with perfection but with care. These aren't factory slick finishes. They're weathered cans that once held drinks on hot summer days, now holding stories and shadows in your garden. A new kind of vine. A new kind of beauty. And beneath the final arch, where the crushed copper spirals hang like wind chimes and twisted vines, a quiet message lingers. You don't need a big budget to create wonder. Just a pair of garden shears, a few screws, and the belief that art and nature are not separate things. So the next time you finish a soda, pause before tossing the can. Maybe it's not trash. Maybe it's the beginning of something whimsical, something that gleams in the garden light and reminds you that even waste in the right hands can grow into poetry. Sometimes the most touching beauty doesn't come from perfection, but from persistence, from the quiet act of giving something forgotten a second chance to shine. And in this tiny garden, that chance begins with a bottle. Beneath the marigolds and calendulas, at the edge of a modest flower bed, glass bottles stand shoulder to shoulder like sentinels of color. Their necks rise slightly from a strip of weathered concrete, catching sunlight like miniature prisms. Blue, green, amber, each one different in shape and story. Some are wine bottles once shared with laughter, others soda jars from years gone by. Now they form a glowing boundary, a handmade edging that feels more personal than any store-bought border ever could. Move a little closer and you'll see the character in each flaw. A chipped label, a faint crack, a logo embossed in a language you don't recognize. These aren't uniform. They're real. Set by hand into concrete that carries its own fingerprint, hairline cracks, uneven edges, and embedded pebbles like memories pressed into time. Further down the path, where lavender leans over a gravel walkway, the rhythm of these inverted bottles becomes a soft visual beat. You can almost hear it, the tap of glass against soil, the hush of crushed stone beneath your feet. The colors shift with the light, teal and sea glass green in the morning, golden glow at dusk. It's not just edging, it's poetry in repetition. And at the end of that path, a wooden gate opens onto the ordinary world again. But by then, something inside you has changed. You begin to see the potential in what others discard. You start to imagine the rows of unused jars in your pantry, the mismatched wine bottles from gatherings past, and how they might become something beautiful too. This is DIY at its most soulful. No fancy tools, no expensive materials, just intention, patience, and a bit of cement. The joy isn't only in the result, but in the act of making. In reclaiming what would have been waste and turning it into something lasting. A border, yes, but also a boundary between who you were and who you're becoming. Someone who sees potential in broken things. So hold on to your bottles a little longer. Let them age like stories. Because the next time you dig your hands into the earth, you might just build a garden that glows. Not from lights, but from the quiet magic of transformation.